Now, don't take this as a shot against religion, okay? I've been battling and, trying to think of these ideas. It's like, okay, I appreciate the values that come from religion thanks to just hours and hours of listening to the work of guys like Jordan Peterson and the people who also espouse Stoic values. They seem to think that, the values of religion itself are very beneficial to the world, and that's kind of the position that I've adopted. And then the more insidious side of religion comes from the organizational practices of such. So you got the Catholic Church with its litany of problems, which was also another hilarious development there. And then you have the Vatican, right? The richest place on earth, imposing vaccine passports because come all ye sinners as long as you've got the jab. Under a new order, Catholics attending liturgical celebrations at the Vatican will be an exception to the vaccine rule. People will be allowed to access a liturgy for the time strictly necessary to conduct the rite, while following distancing and masking rules. That's cool. I must have missed that scripture, but hey, you know what? If you think you can do it, go for it. The Vatican will require all visitors and personnel to show COVID-19 vaccine passports. They have been vaccinated, have recovered from the coronavirus, or tested negative for the disease in order to enter the city-state beginning October 1st. To enter Vatican territory, tourists and other visitors, employees, and officials will be required to show a digital or a paper COVID certificate marked with the Vatican. Issued by the Vatican, or another country, according to the ordinance published September 20th. You only got one clown standing in the middle of the street? I think you can probably get past him. Or if enough people cough in his direction, maybe he'll just get into a huddled mass and start crying. But that's just to show you how crazy the fucking Vatican and the Catholic Church, not the values themselves. I'm totally fine with that. We're talking specifically about the institution that is the church. The Italian priest, okay, somebody who would be in close contact with the Vatican, allegedly stole church funds for drugs and gay sex parties. Because look at that face. Of course he engaged in homosexual parties. Great story we got here. An Italian Roman Catholic priest and a rabbi walked into a bar. Has placed under house arrest for allegedly stealing over $117,000 in church funds and parishioners' donations for drugs and lavish gay sex parties in his home. They were gay parties because he didn't want to have sex with a woman and break with at least one of his oaths. Reverend Francesco Spagnesi, 40 years old, of Prato, Italy. It's been so long and the cum is building up in my balls and I need to excrete it on young boys. Who was locally known for inspiring homilies? That sounds dirty. Was caught after police were tipped off that his roommate had imported a liter of the common date rape drug GHB. Oh my god, he was going to get some action whether they wanted it or not. Police in the process of interviewing 200 people who said they have attended parties over the last 2 years and their assholes mysteriously started hurting. The two men were alleged to have used online dating sites. I wonder how busy or how plentiful the map for Grindr is around Vatican. That ought to be quite the fucking spotty map, not unlike his bed sheets. Officer reportedly found homemade crack pipes from bottles during the raid on the apartment, so he loved to party and he was good at it. Spagnesi is a former medical student who dropped out because he kept stuffing anything cylindrical up his ass. Out to join the priesthood at the age of 26, reportedly saying he found fullness and joy in making myself available to others just from below the waist, according to the Times. Spagnesi had withdrawn over $117,000 from the parish's bank account. They barely even noticed it. It's probably a fairly rich place, given the location, which police suspect was used to purchase drugs. The paper reported, of course it was. When the bishop halted access to the priest's funds, he started to itch uncontrollably all the time and wonder when you're going to get a new card so I can have access to the funds. He began stealing money from mass collections, like a petty fucking crook, and asking parishioners for money, telling them that he was raising aid for poor families. Well, in fact, he was raising AIDS for his poor family. The priest, beloved in the community, and feared by daycares, quickly raised thousands of dollars from unsuspecting churchgoers. They have begun to take legal action against Spagnesi. Yeah, because that money that they donated in good faith ain't going to get them into heaven. So they kind of want their good faith back. I don't know, just say a few Hail Marys and just call it a fucking day. But I'm sure he'll have his robe and conscience washed clean after he takes a trip to the holy city. And you know what Pope Francis is about. He'll totally forgive him and all that kind of good shit anyway. So just make sure you bring your poke papers. Not those poke papers. Leave those ones at home. Let's talk about vaccinations. Speaking of other old wives' tales, like I said, a couple videos, I forget which one it was. Yeah, we're going to be breaking down some numbers here. Okay, this is from the Daily Mail. Okay, 10 states with the lowest vaccination rates are recording 4 times as many deaths as states leading rollout of shots. Georgia, Texas, and Alabama made up 1/4 of all U.S. fatalities last week. Oh my God. Okay, so you got Georgia, Texas, and Alabama. And you got the top 10 vaccinated and top 10 unvaccinated states. You notice how Texas isn't in the bottom. Notice how Florida isn't either. The 2 states that constantly get pilloried for their vaccination rates, and you're killing everybody. But then you run the numbers on the states that are that are completely vaccinated, and you compare them properly with the states that are unvaccinated, and that headline doesn't look nearly as scary, but we'll get through some of that other information first. I just thought it was important to point out that, yeah, they'll go ahead and try to lump Texas into that, but then at the same time, they aren't a part of, the rest of the shit that they're trying to cover. U.S. states with the lowest vaccination rates are recording many more deaths from COVID-19 than their highly vaccinated peers. Depends what you mean by many more. A DailyMail.com analysis finds that 10 states, Alabama, Arkansas, Georgia, Idaho, Louisiana, Mississippi, North Dakota, Tennessee, West Virginia, and Wyoming, with the lowest vaccination rates accounted for 73.9. How does 9/10 of a person die? Don't know. Per 100,000 residents. Okay. I ran the numbers. I just got to get the numbers here. I just got them on my phone. We'll just go ahead and we'll keep it rolling here. And I'll just, not show you the backdrop of my phone. That's for me and me alone to know. Anyway, so of those 10 states that they listed there, and we won't go through that again, there are 37,916,583 per the 2019 census, right? Okay. And if you just run those 73.9 deaths per 100,000 residents, that accounts for 28,020 deaths, okay? Nearly 38 million people live in those 10 states. 28,000 people are dead. And we don't even know specifically which states have which vaccination rates, so that's just a nice little catch-all. And it gets even more hilarious when you take a look at the 10 highest vaccinated states: Connecticut, Maine, Maryland, Massachusetts, New Jersey, New Mexico, New York, Rhode Island, Vermont, and Washington recorded 18.9 deaths per 100,000 residents. Okay, we're going to do the exact same thing here. So, of those 10 states, 57 million, just about 20 million more people, okay? 635,505, okay? And of those people, running those numbers, 10,893 people, okay? Still a lot of people, right? One life is too many. So compare and contrast, according to the numbers that they're running with here, 17,127 more people died in the highly unvaccinated states. 10,000 out of 38 million. That's something we're supposed to be like cripplingly in fear of at all times. Okay. That means Americans living in the least vaccinated states are dying at a rate nearly 4 times as high. But barely anybody's dying, though. It sucks to suck. As high as most of the vaccinated states. And a lot of fucking people are dropping dead too, if we're going by your metrics. And the data shows 3 states in the South, Alabama, Georgia, and Texas, are responsible for 1/3 of more than 10,000 deaths in the nation last week. Texas must be doing a hell of a lot of heavy lifting. Or what if you take Georgia out of there? That's like the only really populous state. Tennessee to a lesser extent, but Georgia's the only one in the top 10 in the lower third, in the lowest 10 states. So Experts say that fatalities are a lagging indicator and often start to decline. No shit. Until 3 or 4 weeks after cases and hospitalizations do, which means that deaths are expected to soon fall. What are you trying to get people scared about? Deaths have already peaked by what you're claiming, by what the experts are claiming. So it's all about compliance, okay? Rules for thee and not for me. If you think lockdowns are bad, which you should, because they don't do anything except for just punish everybody, guess what else is going to be coming too? Is I just seen this one pop up today. Bank of England tells ministers to intervene on digital currency programming. Get a load of this. This is from the Telegraph, by the way, but it's paywalled, and MSN is just nice enough to provide you with a blank slate of the exact same article, so you can check it and you can take a look as well if you don't believe me, but it's there. The Bank of England has called on ministers to decide whether a central bank digital currency should be programmable. This is how they're going to fuck up cryptocurrency, all of those online little gimmicks. It won't be recognized and won't be a tradable tender unless it has the ability to be programmed, okay? And then what they'll just do that with regular currency as well, because they've gone away from a cash-based society. It's just all cashless now because paper currency is so dirty and so filthy, and they don't have nearly as much control, ultimately giving user control over how it is spent by the recipient. Tom Mutton, a director at the Bank of England, said during a conference on Monday that programming could become a key feature of any future central bank digital currency, in which the money can be programmed to be released only when something happened. He said you could introduce programmability. What happens is one of the participants in the transactions put a restriction on future use of the money. What could be some socially beneficial outcomes from that, preventing activity which is being seen socially harmful? But at the same time, it could be a restriction on people's freedoms. Like they give a fuck. And warn that the government would be required to intervene and make the final decision. Like that's supposed to be some sort of a hope point? No. They're coming after your bank accounts, okay? They're already canceling people for a whole lot less. Trump got kicked out of how many banks? Yeah, exactly. If it can happen to a sitting president, it can happen to literally fucking everybody. And the Bank of England is just giving everybody the heads up on this one, trying to spin it as a good thing because we don't want money to go to human traffickers, even though they deal specifically in cash anyways. But this is just going to be used to control people because if you don't get the jab, we got little fail-safes in there that make sure that you can't spend any of your money now. Don't worry, it's all for your health and safety. I thank you guys all very much for the gift of your time. That was kind of a fun segment, but horrific at the exact same time. Media misinformation, the church still employing people of disrepute, and yet the future of money just being cordoned off by our overlords is it's frightening, but it's information that you guys need to know. Hopefully I got a couple of laughs. Thank you all very much once again for the gift of your time. Let's just finish this. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.